Welcome back from that short break, and we are talking cost of living crisis. Emphasis on crisis right here on Econo Chat. Let's talk business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. And we have been touching on, like Mr. Daniel Steinman said earlier, when we talk about inflation, we can't blame the government. He didn't say it in so much words, but we can't blame the government for that because we do not have control over that. We don't have control over inflation, but somehow we can control the repo rate. Can we?
Yes.
Can the government do that?
100%. We can. It's very easy for the Bank of Namibia to bring the repo rate down. Personally, I feel the repo rate is about 200 basis points too high. It should be about 5.5%. It cannot remain at 3.5% where it was the adjustment for COVID.
Yeah.
We are all realistic about that. The Bank of Namibia has to, or the so-called spread, the difference between the cost of money on the wholesale side and the retail side. Now, don't look at me like this, Elsabe. I know that is a mouthful. It's a bit of a technical jargon. It is just that money cannot be too cheap, to put it very simple. The system cannot function. The Bank of Namibia then basically does not make a profit, so it can't pay dividends to the government. That's all if interest rates are too low.
Yeah.
But if interest rates are like the exchange rate, they must be in balance with the rest of the economy. And at this point, our repo rate is too high.
Way too high.
Way too high. It should be about 5.5%. And if you take that, then there's also not that need for the government to give an increment of 5%. Because what they do, and this is what they don't realize, they are signaling to the whole rest of Namibia, 5% is the inflation that we're working on, and we're going to continue to work on that. But Elsabe, as I said in the earlier part of our conversation, I don't really have a problem with that. Inflation, whether it's 3% or 5% or 7%, it's an academic thing. My problem is crisis. To adjust for normal inflation, anything between 3% and 7%, that is run of the mill. That's normal economics. That's existential. That's life. But to go from a bag of mielie meal that was $127, I think, for the 10 kilogram bag about a year and a half ago, to over $260 where it is now, when it is not on special. When the price of basic food almost doubles, that's a crisis. What I explained about price adjustment, it's normal strategy of a retailer to play around with the prices, especially on the fast moving items, the stuff that like milk and cool drink and butter and bread and salt and oil and that sort of thing. They move at a very fast pace on a daily basis. You will find, if you go to any of the big supermarkets, the price for a broom is basically still the same as what it was 2 years ago. I mean, 2 years ago you could buy a nice decent broom for about $80. You can still buy a nice decent broom for $80. Now this starts tickling my economic mind. Why is broom still the same price? But coffee and milk and sugar and mielie meal and oil, all that have nearly doubled. Doesn't make sense. Do they bring the brooms from somewhere else? Indian brooms or Chinese brooms? They don't. All the brooms, go check them. They all come from South Africa. They are made in South Africa. It means that it sends a signal. It clearly tells you, if you look at this from an economic and an analytical point of view, that particular industry, let's call it the light manufacturing industry in South Africa, is not subject to runaway inflation. Now you start asking yourself, but why is food, why did the prices of food explode? Why do we see no end? It just keeps on rising. The crisis is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Cooking oil. We don't manufacture cooking oil. Where does it come from? South Africa. I mean, all the sunflower and all the other nuts and stuff that they use for cooking oil, the olives, even for the fancy cooking oil, it's all produced there. But it's nearly doubled. If you look at soap, we don't import soap from Europe. We don't even import it from China, or the United States. The soap is manufactured in South Africa. Why the escalation in that sort of prices? And this reasoning, this line of questioning applies to all the other foodstuffs. I mean, LCB, you basically can't afford a 2-liter fresh milk anymore. You have to go buy the 1-liter UHT milk, and then only when it's on special for $18 or $19. I can't afford to pay $24 for a liter of milk, or to pay $44 for 2 liter of milk. I can, but only if I stop buying something else. If I stop using sugar. And this is now something that you start seeing in households. There are 2 mechanisms that they employ. The one is if the prices takes the family so far to the edge that they cannot afford a decent basket of groceries in the month anymore. What they do first is they stop buying certain products. Cannot afford it. It's not a priority, And sometimes it's a product that they need, but they would stop buying sugar or salt, for instance. It's too expensive. They would not easily forego on maize meal, or on mango meal, or on salt. I mentioned salt, but salt is important. Or cooking oil, it's also very important. But many of the other stuff, I mean, there's no 5 cents for sweetie for the kiddies. There's nothing extra. So the first mechanism is stop buying. Cessation is it's called. You stop buying certain products. The second one is substitution. If you had a brand that you love, that you've been buying for 5, 6, 10, 15 years, and you get to that point where you simply cannot afford that brand, you start looking around for a similar product at a lesser price. And this happens fairly often. You will be amazed, because there are always new manufacturers and new brand names that try to make an entry into the market. And they undercut their own prices in the beginning just to sort of make people used to buying that. But if you that is part of the substitution thing. Households stop buying their favorite product, they go to another product, and they try it out. But the issue is not the taste. The issue is the affordability. That the fundamental issue is an economic issue, not a consumption issue.
Let's go for another short break, and once we come back, we will get into what can we do, and will the price, and the question that everyone probably is sitting with right now is, will prices come down? Let's go for the short break.